Anne Boleyn. A name that shaped the course of English history. She was the woman who captured Henry VIII's heart, divided a kingdom, and became the mother of England's greatest queen. Yet her life ended on the scaffold at the Tower of London, in one of the most dramatic downfalls of the Tudor age. Tonight, we uncover the story of Anne Boleyn, her rise, her reign, and her ruin. Anne was born around 1501, likely at her family's home, Hever Castle in Kent. Her father, Thomas Boleyn, was an ambitious diplomat. He had risen through court by his sharp intelligence and political skill. Her mother, Elizabeth Howard, was from one of the oldest noble families in England. The Boleyns were not among the great ancient houses, but Thomas was determined his children would rise higher than their birth allowed. And Anne, his second daughter, would prove him right. At the age of 12 or 13, Anne was sent abroad to finish her education. First, she entered the household of Margaret of Austria, in the Netherlands. Margaret praised her quick wit, calling her a bright and pleasant young girl. Soon after, Anne travelled to France, where she served Queen Claude, wife of King Francis I. For nearly 7 years, and lived in the most glamorous courts in Europe. She absorbed French fashion, music, poetry, and politics. By the time she returned to England, Anne was not just a noblewoman, she was a true Renaissance lady. In 1522, Anne returned to England. She joined the household of Queen Catherine of Aragon, wife of Henry VIII, and stood out immediately. She was not the most beautiful woman at court, but she had a magnetic presence, sharp eyes, confidence, and elegance. Men found her captivating. Women found her threatening. At first, Anne was courted by Henry Percy, heir to the Earl of Northumberland. Their love, however, was forbidden. Cardinal Wolsey, Henry VIII's chief advisor, ended the romance at the king's command. From then on, Anne learned a harsh truth: her future would be tied not to her heart, but to power. By the mid-1520s, Henry VIII noticed Anne. He had already taken her sister, Mary Boleyn, as his mistress. But Anne was different. She refused him. She would not be just another woman in his bed. If Henry wanted her, he would have to make her queen. Henry began writing passionate love letters, some of which survive today. In them, he called her his darling and his mistress, meaning beloved, not scandalous. His obsession grew until it consumed him. There was one problem. Henry was already married to Catherine of Aragon. Their marriage had lasted nearly 20 years, but produced only one surviving child, Princess Mary. No son. Henry believed his lack of a male heir was a curse, proof that his marriage was invalid. For years, Henry begged the Pope to annul his marriage so he could wed Anne. But Rome refused. Catherine's nephew was the powerful Emperor Charles V. The Pope could not afford to offend him. Henry's frustration grew, and encouraged him to take bold action. By 1533, Henry defied the Pope, declaring himself supreme head of the Church of England. The English Reformation had begun. In January 1533, Henry married Anne in secret. On June 1st, she was crowned Queen of England at Westminster Abbey. The ceremony was magnificent. London was filled with pageants, wine flowing in the streets, and triumphal arches declaring Anne the rightful queen. Later that year, Anne gave birth to a daughter, Elizabeth. Henry was disappointed, but Anne was convinced she would soon bear a son. Her motto, "The most happy," reflected her confidence and her triumph. and was no ordinary queen. She was outspoken, ambitious, and political. She supported reformers, influenced Henry's decisions, and quarreled with enemies at court. But her boldness made her vulnerable. Many longed for her downfall, and suffered miscarriages, including one in 1536 of a boy. It was the final blow. Henry turned cold, and Jane Seymour, quiet and submissive, replaced her in his affections. Anne's enemies, led by Thomas Cromwell, moved quickly. In May 1536, she was arrested and accused of adultery, incest, and treason. The charges were false, but deadly. Anne's trial was a spectacle. She defended herself with dignity, declaring her innocence. But the verdict had been decided before it began. She was found guilty of treason and condemned to die. On May 19, 1536, Anne walked to the scaffold. She wore a grey gown and crimson cloak. Her final words praised the king and prayed for his health. She knelt, and with one swift stroke from a French swordsman, her life was ended. She was just 35 years old. Though Anne died in disgrace, her legacy endured. Her daughter, Elizabeth I, would rule England for 45 years, leading the nation into its golden age of exploration, power, and culture. Anne's triumphs and tragedies paved the way for Elizabeth's greatness. Anne Boleyn's story is one of ambition, resilience, and fate. From a courtier's daughter to a queen. From a king's obsession to the Tower's scaffold. She changed history not just in her lifetime, but for centuries to come. Anne Boleyn, the queen who lost her head, but gave England a queen who would never be forgotten.